America, we have plenty of types of programs for young children that are after school. They are designed specifically to teach leadership, specifically to teach self-leadership, specifically to teach team leadership, and specifically to teach team membership. These programs are about teaching children to get along with each other, but they are also about teaching life skills that are not taught in schools. We call them Girl Scouts, we call them Boy Scouts, we call them Indian Guides, which is a different version, more metaphysical, more spiritual, but openly I don't know because I didn't go through that program. As a boy who went through a program similar to that, who went to the highest levels of leaderships in silver and gold pins when I was a literally high school or college student, wrapping it all up, I know something about those programs. I also know that as a mature man who was pretty old by then, recognizing I didn't need to keep those patches anymore, I didn't need to keep those pins anymore, because they're not something we put on resumes anymore. And I literally threw them in the trash along with yearbooks from elementary school and junior high and high school, because I was no longer liaisons with those people, and I have no desire to reconnect with anyone I knew in high school. I had a best friend named Charlie, and he was kind of a schmuck most of the time to me, but I tolerated him because in high school you divide, you conquer, you go on, and I was busy in sports, which is another way in which we teach children something about teamwork in society. You see, there is a famous author named John Maxwell who I love and adore and have met one time in my life that changed my way of what I think of authors. And he literally was at a book signing in the Noblesville school system that was early on, really maybe midstream of his career. He was being brought there by a network marketing company. He gave a talk, but after his talk and after their interview of him for the global group of us, that was several hundred people in that auditorium, he took the time and made the promise that he would stand there and sign anyone's books that were purchasing of them, or anyone's books who had brought them and from a bookstore to sign them. I can't remember how I learned about the event, but it was early on in my career, and I think it was from a high school partner who had been in a photography class of mine, and I ran into him when I was there. But the reality is I was in awe of the fact that he took the time to ask me about my life as a famous, incredible, internationally, totally translated across multiple languages author in the 5 or 10 minutes that he shared with me and every other person who was willing to stand patiently in line to be with him. That changed my view of authors, of whether they're young or old, seasoned or not, and how they should behave in the world. He's also a leader of men, a leader of business, a leader of Christendom, and he's been across several national congressional organizations in their group politics, where they literally try to raise leaders in communities and give them information on how to be. We don't usually learn to be a leader in a school system because we are usually taught we have to learn how to be in society. But it is groups of performing people, teamworks, if you will, because teamworks make the dream works, is my point of John Maxwell, that teamwork makes the dream work is how groups and businesses are formed. We have to know leadership of ourselves, we have to know management of time, we have to know how the world works in order to make a great dime. And I'm sorry I'm not rhyming as well as I normally do this morning, but my life cycle has been ruined by the fact I'm still waiting for my wife to arrive. My wife is no longer my Japanese wife who has passed into her realm, but my wife is the one that God has planned for me in every step and every way and every day that I'm reminded of that truth. You see, the Lord God above that I believe in underneath federal law and international rights that gives me the right to worship any way I choose speaks quite clearly and loudly across almost every religion. Those religions have religious historic works, and those religions allow us to worship and decide how we will practice our faith in this world. The First Amendment protects freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and freedom of faith, if you will. It protects other things too, but those are the main aspects of that particular amendment. There is also an Amendment 4, which is incredibly important to anyone who walks in this world, that says we have the right to our personhood, our paperwork, and our property, and that is the Fourth Amendment. What that means is that no person of the militia, meaning the military or the police, or any other human being on the face of the earth, has the right to put their hands in our pockets, to put their hands in our pocketbooks, to put their hands in our luggage, to put their hands in our actual briefcases for our work, and take any information about us or our life or our private life at all. They have no right to take our medical records. They have no right to take our financial records. They have no right to take our bank accounts. They have no right to take our creative work. They have no right to take our name at best, unless they're trying to return it to us. And here's what I know about immoral people. They might find a journal that's fallen out of my pocket alongside the road of a Fridays that I was crossing over near the mall that fell out, or they might take a journal, if they're immoral, off my pack as I walked behind a tree to take a pee, but they have immorally done so in their theft, but they have also immorally gone beyond the first page that gives my name, which I actually didn't write in that journal, someone else did, pretending to write with my hand. But where I placed the phone number, so if the journal was found, someone could call me and say, I found your journal on the ground. But an immoral person will go through the pages and read the notes and take their ideas from that journal about who that person is. That's what an immoral person does. A moral person will simply take the phone number, take the journal, put it at their house, put it in their car, and make a phone call and say, I found your journal on the ground. And I know there's things in it that are important to you because the credit card fell out that was gifted to you, and other parts of your life have fallen out. But I've tried to put it all back in, not knowing what pages it went on and not wanting to read your personal and private thoughts. You see, there are actually laws that protect that too. We also have international cybercrime laws that says you don't have the right to put your hands on my phone, in my pocket, or in my life. You don't have the right to play programs on my phone and download things off my phone, put things on my phone. You don't have the right to change my phone operational capabilities that I've established for my life. You see, every part of our life is governed by technology today, but there are always the risks of those who have greater technological capabilities. But the immoral children of illegal people will actually take our phones out of our pockets while we sleep, or off our tables in our houses that they've taken their capabilities to unlock a door in under 20 minutes or less and come in our house and play around. They will put their hands in our drawers. They will open suitcases that we have locked with properly protected documents, and they will lie about their rights to them. The maintenance men of my apartment complex always lied about what they did in my home. I had just changed the light bulb in my hall, and they were there when I got there, and I thought, what the fuck are you doing in my house? I didn't give you authorization to be here. And they said, we were changing a light in your hall. And I thought, that's almost impossible because I just stood there with my mother holding the ladder to change the light bulb myself. You see, my father was a GE lamps and ballast man in his work days. He worked at that company for 42 years. He served that company in the community lighting our supermarkets. So I know what is a well-lit place and what is a lying place. But I also know what good is of light bulbs and the color of them. Do you know that there's different types and different colors of light bulbs and how they affect the emotional and psychological mood of people? They have gone mainly to daylight light bulbs because it has been proven that green bulbs make people to feel sick, and fluorescent light bulbs used to be made in the chemicals in them of them. They also used to have to be handled very carefully in throwing them away in trash because of the gases in them. But the stupid people of America, the stupid people of foreign construction companies, take everything they're taking out of apartment complexes and warehouses and commercial spaces and throw them in the trash. Now maybe recycle companies take the time to then unstabilize the way they're put in there, but usually what I see is just things thrown in as if it's empty food boxes. That's not true. All of that stuff could go to a local shelter. All of that stuff could go to a recycle space that we have in communities, like Habitat for Humanity, and all of those things that you don't want anymore as you're leaving your college house, leaving your apartment, moving across the nation, recognizing you can't take it all with you, which was an old phrase of anyone who knows about life and death. You can't take all your shit with you when you go to heaven. You'll be going probably butt naked or in the spirit realm with just your soul visible to the Lord. But those people are not doing things correctly. They're not calling those local places and saying, hey, we've got some really stable table legs, but if you've got someone handy who's a volunteer could take this destabilized top, this broken top off and put on a lovely new piece of wood so that someone who really needs a sturdy desk for a very heavy child could actually utilize it. We have some sofas here that we have blue lit with black lights to make sure there's no bugs in them, and we feel that they could be used in a person's home because they still have some good life in them. We have a settee here that could possibly be used in one of your shelters for someone to sleep on comfortably if you put a mattress pad over them. They have no bugs, and we've guaranteed that because we've used a blue light or black light or whatever it is that can see microscopic organisms, and we can see that it's perfectly safe right now. If it stays out in the rain, if it stays out in the sun, if it stays out in the garbage that's filthy already, it might have a problem. We also have some old vacuum cleaners. We also have some old dishwashers that might work in a mobile home that needs a new one. But what we see are people throwing away gadgets into our landfills, destroying our rights to have fresh air and fresh food and fresh things, because as you know, in the hurricane winds that do explode across the lands when God is upset or when Mother Earth is ready to do something new in life, that they blow across the land. Garbage blows quite frequently through a windy city like Chicago or even down here in Champaign. But in truth, what we must understand is who is who in the world and who's going to pick up the garbage in a parking lot that is serving a business community. Who's going to care to do that because it's a representation of that company? I do pick up trash where I tend to stay out of the rain. Some people ask me where I stay, and it's one of the worst questions you can ask a homeless person. So as I wrap up this video, this audio cast, my actually coined term that someone in the marketing realm stole from me after he heard it uttered by me, and he probably thought it was just something that he could do, which is true. When you make up a new word, it becomes a part of society. But an audio cast is one without video that allows people to multitask and listen in a way that's different than a podcast. There's no real charge for it because it's usually placed on a channel like YouTube or Vimeo, where we have some freedom to be free and use their technology spaces, which helps them to launch authors, which helps them to launch video people, which helps them to launch cinema, which helps them to launch new films done by really creative people who have the technology and the computers and the science. But what I'm saying to you is that in life we have moments of time to make a difference for someone. So if you're seeing an impoverished person, the best thing you could possibly walk up and say is, I'm not exactly sure, but my hunch is, my inspiration is